scholars, teachers and trainers, professors and professionals, learners. I Dr. Rakesh from USA. You are listening the truth of science and spirituality. It is really nice time, nice place, nice section that you are listening the word of God. God or Lord who has produced a great energy, power to speak, listen, read, write, and learn. We thank God who has given the time to listen the God's word for our Indian reformation, recreation and reoperation. Presence of our most honorable Saint Dr. Narendra Modi ji, presence of respected doctors and ministers, reverend fathers and mothers, affectionate sons and daughters. Today we are listening values and vision of our nation. How our nation has greatness, goodness in creating spiritual values throughout the world. How the human values, moral values has its own importance in producing and progressing the youngsters of the nation. It is well known that our Indian land is a land of starters, beginners and initiators. We feel the presence of Lord in past, present and future. We have the role of God in the form of omniscient, omnipotent, omnipresent and almighty Lord. Our nation is known as the nation of winners. If there are so many problems in our nation, then we have uncounted, unwritten solutions for facing the problems. Indian foundation fundamentals, basics are really praiseworthy, admirable and appreciable for the generation. Time to time, whenever our nation feel and face the natural disasters, calamities, devastations, internal energy in the form of spiritual energy faced it bravely and courageously. Indian worshipping system is really praiseworthy all over the world. We believe in worship. We are the ardent and strong believer of the Vedas, the Ramayana, the Mahabharata, which was addressed by Swami Vivekananda throughout the world. Every word of our holy scripture is not only written in the holy books, but practically being adopted by every citizen of the nation. At the international and world level, where there is controversy and conflicts between the world powers, among them, between them, India shows his presence. India shows its spiritual value standard as an mediator. As a mediator, it proves that our nation is the nation of forefathers, foreteller, forecasters, free messengers, and freedom fighters. And we have the winning strategy with having a strong intellectual, emotional, personal, and professional, and even spiritual standard of our nation. So, values that we have and vision that we have is really praiseworthy, recordable in the history. Our history, our recordings, downloadings, savings show that we believe in the past. And it is said by Pandit Jawaharlal Nehru, our present lies in the past. Our past is stronger than present because the foundation of the present lies on the foundation of past. So how our values, stored values, work in creating and operating a new nation. Today we are dealing and discussing. Values are at an all-time low. In any society, basic immortality and unperishability. These are the two important words, but these words are really acceptable in the Indian spirituality. In our society, basic immorality and injustice lead to despair. If there is immorality and injustice, atrocities, there we find depression, frustration, anxieties, and despair. But morality, justice, and feeling of brotherhood, sisterhood brings purity. It makes us pure and brings pity and fear. The greedy and inconsiderate who seek immoral pleasures must be stopped by those committed with values. We have strayed in the process of change. Any society that has lost its moral bearing is heading for disaster, because all failures in history have been moral failures. More than half a century ago, America was in the middle of a wrenching depression. One third of our nation's wealth vanished in a matter of months. Manufacturing declined 77%. One fourth of the labor force was left idle. Many cities could not afford to keep school open. 20% of New York school children were malnourished. At one point, 34 million men, women, and children were without any income at all. Yet, in the depth of that hardship, with its soup kitchens, bank closings, and hunger, Franklin Roosevelt could tell the nation in a radio address, "Our difficulties, thank God, concern only material things." It is what happened in 1929 in the USA. When the USA was under economic crisis, there was unemployment all over the world, and how the American, you dare not, you don't. If you like but think you can't, it's almost a cinch you want. If you think you lost, if you think you will lose, you are lost. For out in the world we find success begins with a fellow's will. It's all in the state of mind. If you think you are outclassed, you are. You have got to think high or to rise. You have got to be sure of yourself before you can ever win a prize. Life is battles, don't always go. To the stranger and the faster man, but sooner or later, the man who wins is the man who thinks he can. So really, action of thinking is the greatest in our life. It brings change in our fate, fortune, or luck. What do we think? What ideas we have in our mind in the form of energy? As per the ideas of mind, our eyes examine and observe the outward things of this world. And whatsoever eyes observe outside, that message transfer to the words that we speak. Spoken words become our action. Repetition of the action become our habit. And habit turns towards our character. Character is the ultimate result of our fate, fortune, or luck. The greatest gift man of all creatures, the greatest gift man of all creatures is physically the most ill-equipped in this world. He cannot fly like a bird, can be killed by a tiny insect, cannot outrun a leopard, cannot swim like an alligator, cannot climb the tree like a monkey, doesn't have the eye of an eagle, nor does he have the claws and teeth of a wild cat. Physically, man is helpless and defenseless, but nature is reasonable and kind. Nature's greatest gift to man is the ability to think. Man is known by mind. It is written in all the holy scriptures that how the man came on this earth and how man comes on this earth. In the chapter of the Genesis we read, God created his own form in the form of human body. He cannot create his own environment, whereas animals adapt to their environment. We can observe the naturality of the animals, plants, creatures that we have in the form of nature. Sadly, very few people use the greatest gift, the ability to think to its full potential. Failures are of two kinds, those who did and never thought, and those who thought and never did. Going through the without using our ability to think is like shooting without aiming. Life is like a cafeteria. You take your tray, select your food, and pay at the other end. You can get anything you want as long as you are willing to pay the price in a cafeteria. If you wait for people to serve you, you will wait forever. Life is like that too. You make choices and pay the price. Life is full of choices and compromises. There is contradiction here. Where is the question of compromises? Remember, even a compromise is a choice. Let's evaluate this. How is life full of choices? When we eat too much, we make a choice to be overweight. When we drink too much, we make a choice to have headache the next day. If you drink and drive, you make a choice to risk being killed or killing someone in an accident. When we ill-treat people, we make a choice to be ill-treated in return. When we don't care about other people, we make a choice not to be cared for by other people. Choices have consequences. We are free to make our choice, but after we have chosen. The choice controls us. We have equal opportunity to be unequal. The choice is ours. Life can be compared to a pottery maker who shapes clay in any form he wants. Similarly, we can mold our lives into any shape we want. How is life full of compromises? Life is not just party and pleasure, it is also pain and despair. Unthinkable things happen. Sometimes everything turns upside down. Bad things happen to good people. Some things are beyond control, such as physical disability and birth defects. We cannot choose our parents or the circumstances of our birth. So if the ball bounced that way, sorry. But what do we do from here? Cry or take the ball and turn and run. That is a choice we have to make. On a clear day, there are hundreds of boats sailing in all different directions in a lake. How come, even though the wind is blowing in one direction, the sailboats are going in different directions? What is the difference? It depends on the way the sail is set, and that is determined by the sailor. The same is true of our lives. We can't choose the direction of the wind, but we can choose how we set the sail. We can choose our attitude, even though we cannot always choose circumstances. Our circumstances. The choice is either to act like a victor or a victim. It is not our position but our disposition that determines our destiny. It takes both rain and sunshine to create a rainbow. Our lives are no different. There is happiness and sorrow. There is the good and the bad, dark and bright spots. If we can handle adversity, if we can handle adversity, it only strengthens us. We cannot control all the events that happen in our lives, but we can control how we deal with them. Richard Blachiden wanted to promote Indian tea at the St. Louis World Fair in 1904. It was very hot and no one wanted to sample his tea. Blachiden saw that all the other iced drinks were doing flourishing business. If dawned on him to make his tea into an iced drink, mix in sugar and sell it. He did not, he did, and people loved it. That was the introduction of iced tea to the world. When things go wrong, as they sometimes will, we cannot react responsibly or resentfully. Human beings are not like an acorn which has no choice. An acorn cannot decide whether to become a giant tree or to become food for the squirrels. Human beings have choices. If nature gives us a lemon, we have a choice: either cry or make lemonade. Qualities that make a person successful. One is, first is desire. The motivation to succeed comes from the burning desire to achieve a purpose. Napoleon Hill wrote, whatever the mind of man can conceive and believe, the mind can achieve. A young man asked Socrates the secret to success. Socrates told the young man to meet him near the river the next morning. They met. Socrates asked the young man to walk with him toward the river. When the water got up to their neck, Socrates took the young man by surprise and ducked him into the water. The boy struggled to get out, but Socrates was strong and kept him there until the boy started turning blue. Socrates pulled his head out of the water, and the first thing the young man did was to gasp and take a deep breath of air. Socrates asked, what did you want to do the most when you were there? The boy replied, air. Socrates said, that is the secret to success. When you want success as badly as you wanted the air, then you will get it. There is no other secret. A burning desire is the starting point of all accomplishment. Just like a small fire cannot give much heat, a weak desire cannot produce great results. Commitment. Integrity and wisdom are the two pillars on which to build and keep commitments. This point is best illustrated by the manager who told one of his staff members, integrity is keeping your commitment even if you lose money, and wisdom is not to make such foolish commitments. Prosperity and success are the result of our thoughts and decisions. It is our decision what thoughts will dominate our lives. Success is not an accident, it is the result of our attitude. Playing to requires commitment. Playing to win requires commitment. There is a big difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. When we play to win, we play with enthusiasm and commitment. Whereas, when we play not to lose, we are playing from a position of weakness. When we play not to lose, we are playing to avoid failure. We all want to win, but very few are prepared to pay the price to prepare to win. Winners condition and commit themselves to winning. Playing to win comes out of inspiration, whereas playing not to lose comes out of desperation. There are ideal circumstances. There will never be. To reach anywhere we want, we cannot just drift nor lie at anchor. We need to sometimes stay with the wind and sometimes against it. But sail we must. Ask any coach or athlete what the difference between the best and the worst team is. There would be very little difference in their physique, talent and ability. The biggest difference you will find is emotional difference. The winning team has dedication and they make the extra effort. To a winner, The thought, to a winner, the tougher the competition. The greater the incentive, the more motivated he is. The better the performance, the sweeter the victory. New challenges develop, new potential. Most athletes' best performances have come when the odds are slightly against them. That is when they dig deeper into their reservoir. New challenges develop new potential. When I would get tired and want to stop, I would wonder what my next opponent was doing. When I could see him still working, I would start pushing myself. When I see him in the shower, I would push myself harder. Dan Gable, Olympic gold medalist in wrestling. Success is not in the achievement, but in the achieving. Everyone's weakness, whatsoever he has in his life, that can become his success or achievement. Some people never try because they are afraid to lose. At the same time, they don't want to stay where they are because they are afraid to be left behind. There is a risk either way. Ships that go out into the open water face risk from a storm. But if they sit in the harbor, they would rust, and that is not what they were built for. That is the difference between playing to win and playing not to lose. One cannot be committed and not take risk. People who play to win thrive on pressure, and those who play not to lose don't know how to succeed. Pressure makes people who play to win prepare harder. For those who play not to lose, the pressure shapes the energy. They want to win, but they are so afraid to lose that they can't reach their full potential. They lose energy, worrying about losing instead concentrating their efforts on winning. Losers want security. Winners seek opportunity. Losers are more afraid of life than death. Failing is not a crime, but lack of effort is. The quality of a person's life is in the direction proportion to their commitment to excellence, regardless of their chosen field of endeavor. Conviction leads to commitment. There is a difference between preferences and conviction. Preferences are negotiable. Convictions are not preferences. Give way under pressure. Convictions become stronger. That is why it is important to have a good value system so that our convictions are worthy, because convictions in turn lead to commitment. Responsibility, a duty which becomes a desire, will ultimately become a delight. People with character accept responsibilities. They make decisions and determine their own destiny in life. Accepting responsibilities involves taking risk and being accountable, which is sometimes uncomfortable. Most people would rather stay in their comfort zone and live passive lives without accepting responsibilities. They drift through life waiting for things to happen rather than making them happen. Accepting responsibilities involves taking calculated, not foolish risk. It means evaluating all the problems and conclusions, then taking the most appropriate decisions or action. Responsible people don't think that the world owes them a living. What Abraham Lincoln has written in his words of life: you cannot bring about prosperity by discouraging thrift. You cannot strengthen the weak by weakening the strong. You cannot enrich the poor by impoverishing the rich. You cannot establish sound security on board money. You cannot help the wage earner by pulling down the wage payer. You cannot build character and grace by taking away man's initiative and independence. You cannot further the brotherhood of man by inciting class hatred. You cannot keep out of trouble by spending more than you earn. You cannot help men permanently by doing for them what they could and should do for themselves. The retiring president of a company, after a standard farewell, gave two envelopes marked number 1 and number 2 to the incoming president and said, whenever you run into a management crisis you cannot handle by yourself, open envelope number 1. At the next crisis, open the second one. A few years later, a major crisis came. The president went into the safe and pulled out the first envelope. It said, blame it on your predecessor. A few years later, a second crisis came. The president went for the second envelope and it said, prepare two envelopes for your successor. Responsible people accept and learn from their mistakes. Some people never learn. We can do three things about mistakes. One is ignore them, deny them, accept them and learn from them. The third alternative takes courage. It is risky but rewarding. If instead we defend our weaknesses, we actually start building our lives around them, making them a counterpoint, making them a center point, rather than overcoming them. Hard work, success is not something that you run into by accident. It takes a lot of preparation and character. Everyone likes to win, but how many are willing to put in the effort and time to prepare to win? It takes sacrifice and self-discipline. There is no substitute for hard work. Henry Ford said, the harder you work, the luckier you get. The world is full of willing workers. Some willing to work and some are ready to work, the other willing to let them. I like to work half a day. I don't care if it is the first 12 hours or the second 12 hours. Copying, stealing is more than sin. Hard working, doing always win. It is written, it is the lesson of our holy scriptures that we take from the words of our forefathers, foretellers. One cannot develop a capacity to do anything without hard work. Just as a person cannot learn how to spell by sitting on a direct dictionary, professionals make things look easy because they have mastered the fundamentals of whatever they do. If people knew how hard I had to work to gain my mastery, it wouldn't seem wonderful at all. An excuse. An executive called a company to check on a potential candidate. He asked the candidate's supervisor, "How long has he worked for you?" The man replied, "3 days." The executive said, "But he told me he was with you for 3 years." The man replied, "That is right, but he worked 3 days." The average person puts only 25% of his energy and ability into his work. The world takes off its hat to those who put in more than 50% of their capacity and stands on its head for those who few and far between souls who devote 100%. Written by Andrew Carnegie. Success is the result of believing in asking how much work and not how little work. Pay attention on the words. Success is the result of believing in asking how much work and not how little work. How many hours? Not how few hours. The best magicians practice every day. Winners don't need to apologize for winning because they work hard and long. I didn't come easy. Everything that we enjoy is the result of someone's hard work. Some work is visible and other work goes unseen, but both are equally important. Some people stop working as soon as they find a job. Regardless of the unemployment statistics, it is hard to find good people to work. Many people don't understand the difference between idle time and leisure time. Idle time amounts to wasting or stealing time. Leisure time is earned. Procrastinating amounts to not working. Excellence is not luck, it is the result of a lot of hard work and practice. Hard work and practice make a person better at whatever he is doing. Things may come to those who wait, but only the things left by those who hustle. Abraham Lincoln. Hard work is both beginning and an end in itself. The harder a person works, the better he feels. And the better he feels, the harder he works. The best ideas will not work unless you work the ideas. Great talent without willpower and hard work is a waste. We need to learn from nature. The duck keeps padding relentlessly, and underneath, smooth and calm on top. Once, when Fritz Kreiser, the greater violinist, finished a concert, someone came up to the stage and said, I'd give my life to play the way you did. I did, Kreiser replied. There is no magic wand for success. In the real world, success comes to doers, not observers. A horse that pulls cannot kick. A horse that kicks cannot pull. Let's pull and stop kicking. Without hard work, there is no success. Nature gives birds their food but does not put it in their nest. They have to work hard for it. Nothing comes easy. Milton rose every morning at 4 a.m. to write Paradise Lost. It took Noah Webster 36 years to compile Webster's dictionary. Even small accomplishments require hard work and better than big talk. Character is the sum total of a person's values, beliefs, and personality. Reflected in our behavior, in our actions. It needs to be preserved more than the richest jewel in the world. To be a winner takes character. George Washington said, I shall always possess firmness and virtue enough to maintain what I consider the most valuable of all titles, the character of an honest man. It is not the polls or public opinion, but the character of the leader that determines the course of history. There is no twilight zone in integrity. The road to success has many pitfalls. It takes a lot of character and effort not to fall into them. It also takes character not to be disheartened by critics. How come most people love success but hate successful people? Whenever a person rises above average, there will always be someone trying to rip him apart. Chances are pretty good when you see a person on top of a hill that he just didn't get there but had to endure a tough climb. It's no different in life. In any profession, a successful person will be envied by those who are not. Don't let criticism distract you from reaching your goal. Average people play it safe to avoid criticism, which can be easily avoided by saying, doing, or being nothing. The more you accomplish, the more you risk being criticized. It seems there is a relationship between success and freedom. The greater is the success, the more the criticism. The greater the success, the more the criticism. Critics have always been sitting at the sidelines. They are underachievers who shout at doers, telling them how to do it right. But remember, critics are not the leaders or doers, and it is worthwhile asking them to come down to where the action is. What does the Oscar Wilde explained? The critic is one who knows the price of everything and the value of nothing. There is another breed of people who are willing to help others until the others are able to help themselves. But as soon as they are able to help themselves, this group of people make life as miserable and as uncomfortable as possible. This is part of life, and if we have to succeed, we have to do it in spite of them. This kind of behavior is the result of jealousy. Character is combination. Character is a combination of integrity, unselfishness, understanding, conviction, courage, loyalty and respect. What is a pleasant personality with character? It is a class by itself. It is composure. It is poesy. It is sure-footedness. It is sure-footedness and confidence without arrogance. It is being considerate. It is never making excuses. It is knowing that courtesy and good manners take many small sacrifices. It is learning from past mistakes. It has nothing to do with money, blue blood. It never builds itself by destroying others. It is substance, not just form. It can walk with the elite and yet maintain the common touch. It is a gentle word, a kind look, and a good-natured smile. It is the secret pride that stands against tyranny. It is comfortable with itself and others. It is the classic touch that gives the winning edge. It works wonders. It accomplishes miracles. It is easy to recognize, hard to define. It is accepting responsibility. It is humility. It is graciousness in victory and defeat. It is not fame and fortune. It is not a plaque. It is permanent. It is intangible. It is being courteous and polite without being subservient. It is being classy without being cocky. It is self-discipline and knowledge. It is self-contained. It is a gracious winner and an understanding loser. Thank you, listeners and learners. Those who are listening carefully, scholars and learners, distance learners, I welcome all your presence. I heartily, cordially thank to all of you. It is really nice time, nice place, nice section. It's the greatest blessing and grace of Lord that we are listening the truth of science and spirituality. All countrymen of the world are being suggested to have the presence of Lord in the form of nature. Early in the morning, whenever they get up, they must think on our nature. So it is really a great lesson of this day. Thanks for listening, learners and listeners.